This is the story about the Drumlummon Mine and the town of Marysville, Montana. This old camp is about 25 miles northwest of Helena. It was back in 1879 that a miner, Thomas Cruse, was out looking for gold when he came across a rich vein of silver and gold. He had been mining downstream, but knew his small deposit would only last so long, and like most gold miners, he was always on the lookout for the mother lode, and it just so happened that this day was his lucky day. Of course, like most gold miners back in the day, he was pretty much broke, so he needed to borrow some money to get the proper equipment to mine this high-grade vein he discovered. This rich vein of precious metal ore later turned out to be the Drumlummon Mine, and once mining started, it wasn't long, and he had all that borrowed money paid back in full. And of course, like pretty much all the gold rushes back in the day, it wasn't long before word got out about this rich deposit, and soon miners and prospectors were flocking into the area in droves. Of course, this new mine needed workers, and with nowhere to stay, the need for a town of some kind was pretty much top of the list. It wasn't long before there were a few houses and buildings going up, and this new camp became known as Marysville, being named after Mary Ralston, who was the first female resident to move into town. In 1880, Thomas brought in a small 5-stamp mill to process the gold ore. Thomas ran the mill until 1884, at which time he sold the mine to a syndicate for $1.5 million and then moved into nearby Helena. There, Thomas got involved in banking and started a family. However, his wife died giving childbirth. After a year or so, Thomas moved back to Marysville, where he bought the Bald Mountain Mine on Bald Butte, which was not very far from the town. This mine went on to produce hundreds of thousands of dollars in gold, silver, and copper over the years. Another mine in the area was the Bellboy. In its first 3 years of operation, the mine produced about $500,000 worth of gold. During the 1890s, the town of Marysville boomed. With 12 active mines in the area, the town's population grew to 4,000 residents. All of these mines ran 24 hours a day, and with ore going out and supplies coming in, the town and mines had to be serviced with 2 railroads. There were over 60 businesses, including 27 saloons, several hotels, a couple of newspapers, 3 churches, a post office, and a couple of doctors. The town had a school that could hold 250 students, and the town even had their own brass band to put on concerts for the public. For much of the 1890s, Marysville was the place to be. During this time, the Drumlummon Mine upgraded the milling operations by getting rid of the old 5-stamp mills that Thomas had and building a new 110-stamp mill. By the early 1900s, however, things started to take a turn. First, the rich ore was starting to run out and mines were having to process lower-grade ore. Then there was a dispute with another outfit, the St. Louis Mining Company, over boundary rights, and mining slowed down even more as the mines were tied up in litigation. This was a turning point for Marysville as the writing was on the wall and people started to leave town due to the lack of work. Then, like pretty much every old mining town we read about, in 1909 a fire swept through the town, destroying a lot of the buildings and some homes. Then in 1911, the St. Louis Mining Company bought out the Drumlummon Mine and continued to mine the ores until 1920. Then some new deposits were discovered in 1924, and the Drumlummon Mine reopened once more and operated until the beginning of the Second World War, when mines were shut down because gold was considered a non-essential metal. Over the years of operation, the total production of gold from the Marysville Mines District produced over 1.3 million ounces, with almost half of that gold being credited to the Drumlummon Mine alone. You can still go to this old camp as there are still a few folks who call Marysville home. There you can see some of the old buildings and relics from the past that are still standing. I have never been to Marysville, but being as it's close to Helena, I think it would be worth the drive. I hope you enjoyed this short story about the mines and town of Marysville. Please like, share, and subscribe so we can continue to bring you more old lost mine stories.